Hello everyone, Geoffrey Simbertsky here, and today I'm doing something really different this time. Today, for this video, we're going to read 2 Reddit stories that go under the category of r/ProRevenge. So let's start with this first one. This happened to me several years ago when my family and I lived in a smaller town and my kids were still little. Certain details have been changed to protect people's identities. TLDR at the bottom. My wife and I were looking for childcare for our 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old baby girl. Our co-worker recommended an in-home daycare that our son goes to. We toured the house and the lady seemed nice enough, plus we trusted our co-worker, which was a big mistake, so we went ahead. From the beginning, things seemed off. First, she had trouble receiving our payment, which was straight from our bank. Fine, she's a bit disorganized, but spends her energy on the kids. Over the weeks, she's getting more cagey with us, not letting us step 1 foot inside the house when we picked up the little ones. Adding to our frustration, there was zero support for our son, who was toilet trained at the time. The caretaker, let's call her Monica, said that it bothered the other parents if he had an accident and if he was not ready to be out of diapers. This was bullcrap because he was very driven and interested and made progress every weekend with us at home. We asked our co-workers about it, and she said that Monica has had her good and bad aspects, but what he really cares for is the kids. No more glowing reviews. We came to learn that the 2 were close friends, and he was probably getting manipulated by her, leveraging the friendship to get more business. My wife, ever the delinquent investigator, started to keep track of how many kids were in there, especially because she would always arrive to lunch to feed in the house. Monica was always nervous during the feedings and insisted that it kept the kids away from their naps. Miraculously, everyone slept fine and my daughter got fed with no issue. Monica had a helper who would watch the kids with her. Let's call her Sarah. Now, by law, they had to maintain a ratio of kids to caretakers, with the ratio being more strict for infants. It turned out during that day, Monica would go out and do errands like groceries or go to the bank while Sarah watched the kids for an hour or more. That's a big no-no right there. They had up to 13 kids. 13. We found out, and you can't safely watch that many small kids in the house with multiple rooms. We get on wait lists for others, hopefully better daycares, and decide to call the state. The inspector jumps on it and conducts a surprise visit. She finds Sarah alone with 11 kids. 6 of them were infants. This is way out of ratio, even with 2 caretakers. She literally had been hiding kids in the other rooms in her house where she would not show for potential clients. They also find a slew of other smaller violations and give her fines. She has only 1 day to get back within ratio, which means laying of over half her roster, including my kids. We didn't case because we did have other care lined up. Sarah ended up quitting because she was sick of being left alone with all the kids. Now she has a report of all these violations on public record for at least 3 years. I went ahead and gave her an entry on Google Maps with my review and a link to the report. Anyone that Googles her name will see it. Fuck you, Monica. Several months later, we heard about how she was looking for kids to care for since the other families got whined out of it and saw out better care. Good luck with that. And I agree. Why would you neglect kids if you're watching them if you are a caretaker? You should take care of kids if it's a small ratio. There should be a limit on how many kids you should watch in one whole setting, especially when it's your job to watch them. Aside from that story, let's see what this next story has in stock for us. On New Year's Day of 2018, I get resolved to get in shape. I was never overweight, but growing up in Russia and spending my early day adulthood there, I smoked like a chimney and my cardio was trash. Going to college in America didn't help matter because I started drinking too and going along with my smoking. I decided to start going to spin class. I work at a marketing firm and chose a particular spin class because I received a free year-long membership as a holiday office party present that year. It was a generous gift because it was a trendy, pricey boutique spin studio. I've ridden bikes my whole life, so I thought, how hard can it be to ride a bike that doesn't go anywhere? My first day in class was a really rude awakening. It was clear that the class that I was attending, an early morning class for people to attend before work, was a advanced one where a majority of what seemed to be already part of the culture and very fit. It was obvious that I couldn't keep up. The instructor was really nice and told me that since I'm new, it's a good idea for me to ride up in front so that I can watch him and copy what he does more accurately, or alternatively, he can easily see what I'm doing and offer alternatives if I'm not doing things right. I thought, what a great guy and what a great class. There were these two other students in the class, though, who gradually made my morning spin classes suck. Valerie was obviously very fit. She looked like a supermodel and obviously worked hard to look as good as she did. Boris was her male equivalent. They were both about my age, probably a few years older. But it was very clear that they were more fit than me. They are obviously very interested in that particular gym culture, and that they always decked out in the store brand athletic wear. I'm not going to lie, they looked pretty good wearing it. If it wasn't it wasn't obvious that Boris had the same thing for her. And she was aware of it too, and not reciprocating. Whatever they were doing, it wasn't my business. That thing was that both of them were being more far-fit than me. They didn't seem to let me forget it. For some reason, they seemed to take no offense at the fact that I was running up front. I could see why. The two front rows I saw were filled with the very strongest, fittest people. The let's take a selfie sort of gym people. Except these ones actually seemed fit. At the same time, all the super hot girls and guys, especially the guys, were very nice to me and didn't seem to care that I rode up front. Whereas Valerie and Boris would always shoot these sideward disgusted glances at me or smirk. I'm not the confrontational person, so I wouldn't do these things that most of you would say in these situations, such as, what the fuck is your problem, bitch? I always got to class super early just to dress up and adjust my bike. The gym had a policy, first come, first serve, when it comes to choosing one of these 30 bikes in the studio. I noticed a lot of other people showed up early, as they were also clearly less fit than the stars that occupied the first couple of rows, but they seemed to self-segregate into the very back. I was still new, as it was my first couple of weeks, so I sat up front because I was still finding my rhythm. I'd sit right up front where the instructor told me so that I could watch him and he could watch me. Every time he would come in, he would greet me enthusiastically and praise me for my commitment to fitness. It was very little wonder his class got so popular. Everyone held him in high regard. Sometimes in class he would shout encouragements to the class as a whole, but would also give personal shout-outs to the certain students despite the darkness of the room when the instructor said, "Great job there, OP, you killing it." I noticed that both Boris and Valerie both gave each other a look and shook their heads laughing. I never knew sure why she hated me, but I thought it was because that we were both Russian and no one else who went to that early class seemed to be. And she wanted to be the only East Euro girl. Who knows? And as for Boris, he followed her because he wanted to get in her pants. Both Boris and Valerie both showed up right when class started, and the whole place was packed. And yet, they were so entitled to the always two bikes up front, right next to each other reserved for them. Despite the crowd at 5:30 a.m., there were still a couple of empty bikes in the middle or the back. But that still wasn't good enough for them. I'd be right up in the front row, and I got there early. And it was my right to sit wherever I please. And yet, despite them showing at the last second, they shake their heads at me like I'm the one who's got a lot of nerve. Well, this goes on day after day after day for a whole month, and despite the fact that I'm no longer new and I'm starting to get more fit, I don't really need the instructor so much just to survive an hour on the bike. I still sit up right up front, and I thought maybe the particular bike that I was selecting had some significance to both Valerie or Boris, and that's why they copped up such an attitude at the time. I always rode on the same bike. By this time, I was a bit chummy with a lot of the other women and knew their names, and we'd hug in the morning. And I thought I should make peace with Valerie, if not Boris, who would always sort of give me a I hate you because Valerie hates you look. But if there was no Valerie, I would totally go out with you vibe. So when I saw Valerie that morning, as usual, she showed up right next to me when the class started. I politely asked, "Was this your bike before and you were used to it? We could trade if you like." She rolls her eyes and gives Boris a look, and like a donkey, he smirks too. She actively says, "You should sit in the back. We're motivating people up here and you're hogging the mirror space." There was a whole wall mirror in front of the classroom. I'm thinking, what is this, high school? What the actual fuck? You've got to be 30 fucking years old and you're acting like this. And seriously, you may be fitter than me, but I'm just as tall and don't weigh any more than you do or take up any more space in the mirror. And it wouldn't matter even if I did. We're adults, or at least I am. That's what I wish I said. Instead, I just put my head down and went on with my class. Eventually, I got so familiar with the other students because the same regulars would come to class every day that we would all become social media friends. I even became social media friends with the instructor. I don't post much on social media. I don't show where I work or every single thing I do in my random brain farts. I just post the occasional photos. On one of these rare photos, I was admittedly begging for approval because I was proud of developing abs. The spin instructor himself commented how proud he was of me. A lot of people from spin class were also saying nice things. I was friends neither with Valerie nor Boris on social media, but they both like the instructor's comment on my photo, and I guess it's because they both like to kiss his ass. They certainly never showed me any kindness in any class, unlike anyone else who was supportive of me. I clicked on both their names and my suspicions were confirmed. Both of them practically lived on social media internet and took endless selfies, showing off their bodies, humble brag nonstop. They also made no secret of who their employees were. Valerie told the claim that she was a supermodel, even though it was clearly that her real job was only being a sales rep for a beauty brand. She was only a model in the take a picture of yourself using your iPhone in front of the bathroom mirror sense. So Valerie, I guess that makes me a model too? These two were such idiots that they post really dumb things on each other's walls. It didn't really seem that they were really having other lives than trash talk against people. I saw that they had one exchange where they were clearly talking about me. How do I know? Because they actually said my name and said that I was ugly and wanted to be in a skinny fat and all this horrible shit. They wanted to talk a lot about other people in the class and say horrible things and actually name names. It doesn't even seem that they were friendly with the other people, even the very fit people in some cases who were even fitter than them. In terms of the class, they were social media friends with the instructor and some of the other teachers on the schedule. And with each other, but not with anyone else. Anyway, I actually confirmed my suspicions that Boris was low-key thirsty. After the spin instructor made a nice comment on my picture and Boris saw that I existed on the internet, he sent me a private message asking me to go for some coffee sometime. I ignored the message, which was just as well, because the next time at class, he ignored me and follows Valerie's normal spark and routine. I don't like to start drama, and I don't like being bullied and trashed either. So I screen captured and saved a lot of both of their comments where they trashed at least a dozen people in our class, and then made a dummy Facebook account. I fired off every screen capture to the owner of the studio, not just the manager in that particular branch, but the owner of the whole company in addition to the branch manager. I let them know that these two cretins were trashing many people in the morning class and creating a hostile, unwelcome environment. I was also nice enough to send the appropriate screen captures where Boris and Valerie named specific people in the class to those actual people, as that their accounts weren't set to where only friends could message them or post on the feeds. In less than a week, they were both gone. Both had their memberships revoked and were banned from every single one of the brand studios. Several of the people that one of them himself were sufficiently offended that they sent emails to Valerie's employer, as she, as previously mentioned, made no secret of where she worked, about what a body hateful shaming person that she was and how such a person should not be any kind of brand ambassador. From what the other women in the studios say is that she got fired from her job. Don't worry, Valerie, you'll still have your modeling career taking selfies in your lingerie next to your toilet in your apartment. I had the pleasure of seeing less patient buff dudes in class who did find it amusing that Boris was actually telling Valerie on Facebook that he could kick anyone's ass any time, openly often letting him to test his theory anytime, anywhere. Unfortunately, he was too occupied up front getting his membership canceled and being refunded and being told to never come back, please, to make such arrangements. See ya, asshole. Boris had a wannabe unlicensed professional training business that he talked about on Facebook, and several of the men who had legit training certificates shut him down within the quickness. There is always Starbucks. Maybe I'll go for a coffee sometime and buy for you, Boris. Sita. As for me, I still show up early, and I usually find my comfort zone in row 2 row now, or even further back. There's still always new students, and I like for them to sit up right up front so they can feel welcome. That's what it means to be in the fitness community. Everyone's welcome. This isn't some kind of high school cafeteria. You can't sit with us bullshit. I love this class so much that I kept going into 2019 as a paying member. Even after my free year was finished in 18 months, I posted 3 pictures related to the spin class. That 4-pack is coming in nicely, lol, from certain lighting angles. Anyways, goals. Haven't smoked in ages. Still drink like a fish. It's the Russian in me, I think. I honestly hope Boris and Valerie grow up. I low-key hope that they marry that because they deserve each other. Though I also hope that they don't breed because of that much narcissism from the 2 parents that would result in the kid with a lot of issues. And I agree. This is what happens when you harass someone either online or in the class. Karma hits you like a train. No pun intended. Because I'm pretty sure someone else read these 2 stories, and I'm pretty sure you all know who he is. It's Victor Tanzig. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed these 2 Red stories, and should I read more, or should I stick to the creepypastas, or should I do both? Anyways, this is Geoffrey Sambursky signing out, and remember, just do what you like to do.